Hello and welcome to Racers Without Borders International. It's the start of a new league, a new season, British GT4 Championship. We are starting on the Snetterton full GP circuit. My name is Racer Sol and I'll be today commentating for you with a little bit of help from Red Sky. Say hello.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all having a pleasant evening on this very exciting evening with racing.
Yeah, a giant grid of GT4's. You have 44 people trying to fight each other for the victory in the first race of this brand new championship, of course being it from the British GT pack here on ACC. So we decided to do a small championship in just the British circuits. We are starting here on Snetterton, continuing on to Alton Park, Donington, a little bit of dab to Belgium, but still British Spa, Brands Hatch, and finalizing the championship at Silverstone. But a look at today's race. We have Jack Camoletto taking the first pole position in front of the BMW of Alex Rogers and Martin Schaefer in the Ginetta in P3. The rest of the top 10 being Martin Ulrich, Jeroen Royling, Joshua Allen, Phil Varley, Daniel Barnett, Dave Crew, and Rick Biersley. This will be a very tight pack. Everybody being close to each other with an hour and 20 minutes of racing. Mandatory pit stop and refueling, but you don't have to take tires, which will make the strategical battle really important of who will take maybe less fuel, who will take more fuel, and maybe who will even try and change tires.
Especially seeing as the pit stop window is open till 10 minutes before the end of the race, it'll be really interesting seeing what the drivers have thought up as the best strategy for tonight.
As we start the formation lap, Jack Camoletto not wasting any seconds, already pulling a little bit away from everyone.
It seems everybody else was very late on their start.
Yeah, you don't want to be late on starting your car, as we are going out of the final corner. Side by side, some people more, some people less. Look at the lights, watch at the lights.
This will be an exciting opening lap, seeing as Snetterton is a very tight track.
And the cars are moving and we are racing at Snetterton. A good start from Camoletto holding his lead. Alex Rogers slotting into second place. Martin Schaefer holding down the third place. Well, Martin Ulrich managing the P4, but Royling and Allen are going side by side. Or no, that's Royling and Varley, I think. Phil Varley squeezing the Porsche a little bit wide. Now on the outside, we'll try to go up into the fifth place. But he keeps it around the outside, having a better run out of the corner. And he gets ahead of Joshua Allen. And that's a P6 for Phil Varley. Everybody is slotting nicely into the giant snake that we have on the track. But Joshua Allen closely following Phil Varley, not wanting to leave that position P so easily. Also an attempt from Royling, getting really close to Schaefer in the braking zone, but there is not much opportunity in the loop on the track. Well,
It seems the front of the pack is really trying to settle in for the longer part of the race instead of battling it out at the start. So far, the pack still staying very close to each other.
we see a little bit of side-by-side action. Audi having the inside line, although looks like he's slowing down just a tiny bit before the corner. He goes around the outside of the Aston Martin. As Alpine that was in the middle of them just decided to let them go. That was probably Greccio, seeing cars going free wide and not wanting to try anything into that corner in particular. But after lap 1, it's Jack Camoletto in the lead, almost a second ahead of Alex Rogers. And Martin Schaefer in second place, but maybe not for long, as Royling is already trying to size up a move on the Ginetta. Maybe not into turn 1, but it looks like Royling has a little bit more pace in the Mercedes. It will be a tough time for Schaefer, but looks to be compared to the Mercedes. Kind of small. Kind of little that tiny cute Ginetta.
Royling most likely waiting for the long straight to try and do that overtake on the Ginetta.
Yeah, the Mercedes, it has quite a bit of grunt with that big engine in it. Ginetta, I'm not sure what size the engine of the Ginetta is, although that was a mistake from Martin Schaefer, I think, but he managed to hold it together, to still keeping the first place. Like Martin, he will be trying to play the long game. He knows much a lot about this strategical game that you have to play. Let's see on this straight now. Royling is in the slipstream. Almost onto the inside and look. Yeah, he already has the move done even before the braking zone. Schaefer conceding the position. But he will not have a lot of time to chill because Martin Ulrich is closely behind him already as another Mercedes. So deja vu for Schaefer. Lost one and another one is right there. Also some names you might recognize currently on the screen. Samuel Krugel driving the Audi. Many names.
Very strong driver.
Yeah, many names from our Constructors' Championship season. Currently on a mid-season break, as there will be plenty of driver transfers and things going on in that series. And Samuel being one of the Audi drivers in there, choosing Audi also for this championship. So maybe there will be hint for that series. But let's keep the Constructors' Championship for when it is happening. Looking at Joshua Allen defending himself from Rick Binerski in the red Beamer.
The Barnett and crew very close behind. This is going to look like an interesting four-way battle.
Yeah, there will be a lot of battles going on. One of them being Simon Mertens fighting RWB Audi. Trying to go around the outside, but it's not gonna happen this time. And Audi finally in the correct car this time for the race. Managed to put himself up into P26. He'll be surely slowly trying to climb his way up through the 20s. Maybe even go into in the team's position. Well, Mertens being chased by what looks to be Nate Newcomer, or more like he has managed to get by Nate Newcomer in the twisty sections of the track. Maybe go and chase RWB with C lanes. We see the corner at the back. Snetterton being not an easy second half of the circuit, as you have quite hard corners where you are on the limit of braking and turning of a car. You're sometimes just hoping that it doesn't just snap and slide on you. Meanwhile, Alex Rogers is slowly creeping up to the back of Jack Camoletto. So the BMW driver probably has a little more speed than the Aston Martin.
Really pulling away from the main pack right there. Royling definitely trying to keep up with the two from boys, Camoletto and Rogers, trying to make certain that he's not going to lose them. Schaefer still desperately trying to hold Ulrich behind him in the meantime.
Yeah, this is probably the reason why they're being so far ahead with Martin Schaefer holding up in the back. The top two just have a free air, so they can pull away, and Royling certainly wants a little bit of it. As you have pointed out to me before the race, the Aston Martin, it might not be the best car on its tires, so maybe Camaletto is playing the long game of not trying to push too much, so he does not eat up the tires too fast.
Definitely could be, or what I'm also thinking is seeing as how he has a lot of pace in that car currently, especially on the straights, he might actually be running a lower fuel loads.
That may be a possibility as well. As I said, the refueling is mandatory.
Because the BMW is currently getting very close in the corners, but as soon as they get towards the straight, the Aston pulls away even while Rogers is still in that slipstream.
Might be even a difference in the setups. Who knows? Maybe someone is running a bit less of a wing. Then might be running a little bit more of a wings, which will hurt the driver on the straights, but limits you in the corners. But I think overall Rogers is looking at a better race pace than Camaletto, but we shall see. Maybe Camaletto is running in higher fuel or maybe even the lower fuel, as you said. We see Martin moving, managing to get by Martin Schaefer and up into P4. Schaefer already losing 2 positions from his starting place. Now maybe he'll be looking at just sitting in the slipstream of the Mercedes, trying to be pulled along on the track and not falling Phil Valley, who is having his struggles with the Porsche behind him. There is also a small train, starting to look more like a freight train forming behind Phil Valley. Yeah, but it's just eager to get by, you don't with there on the race. You don't want to be held up by a car that is a little bit slower than you for too long.
Absolutely. And Schaefer will definitely be trying to battle the entire pack as he slowly drops down the grid due to the slower top speed that the car has.
You see everyone just moving around, trying to find the opening. Maybe the driver in front of them isn't going to show the tiny crack, but with this many cars, you need to be also worried about the car behind you, because if you move away from the ideal racing line, you are in danger of just being out of position in every corner, getting past left, right, and center.
Absolutely, especially also with the GT4's being very different in driving style. Each and every single one of these cars has a different braking marker, which definitely makes it very difficult for everybody. It's amazing that in the top 20 I haven't seen any accidents so far yet.
We have seen some yellow flags, but talking about the yellow, definitely Alex Rogers will be wanting to put the yellow back of BMW in front of the Aston Martin of Camaletto. See, it's getting closer with every possible turn, but still not close enough to make a move. But maybe also he's just trying to have Camaletto and destroy his tires. Because if Camaletto is going to push too much too early, the tires are just going to go off very easily, and he's not going to be left with too much to fight. But we shall see how the strategy opens if someone decides to go for an early pit stop to get out of the traffic and get into clean air. Or maybe someone trying to hold it out as long as he possibly can on low fuel. And we see Joshua Allen probably was a victim of what I've been speaking earlier. By being out of the position, he managed to lose 2 positions to Barnet and be there behind him, although much better run out of the corner, and he is on the back of Barnet, going to the inside line for the left-hander.
Is he going to make it?
Oh,
very close side by side in that corner.
Oh, and there it is. There's a bit of contact. Walker's in the round. And a big whack into Barnet. That was probably real in the BMW. And oh, that was really unfortunate for both of them. Barnet tried to hold the car around the outside, but Allen probably did not expect the Porsche on the inside there.
That was an incredibly dangerous move, and I'm pretty certain Rigel isn't too happy that he got caught in the middle of that.
Yeah, Rigel would have been alright, but as soon as Barnett front tires started to grip in, the car just candy flicked to the other side. There was just nothing Rigel could have done. This one will be definitely something for stewards to take a look at. Oh, there is both to blame for something, but keep it to them and see what is their point of view on that. You know, we see some other cars in troubles, the back of the pack. Some people maybe not gelling well with the GT4's. This currently fights for what is the brink of top 20. Isaac holding on Sky in the Mercedes. Well, holding on, maybe even running away from Nico Sky. Currently being chased by Emil Sieblon, one of the known names from the Constructors' Championship. The longest lead is trying to keep up the BMW mark alive in the championship. And this train is also starting to gain on size, as it's Sieblon with Bull and Javier Eugeni behind. You see Javier Eugeni trying to catch a slipstream from the Aston Martin in front of him. Not close enough yet at this point, but this will be a battle brewing here in the back. While is Daniel Barnett trying to go down inside on the door. I don't think poking his nose into this corner will be a good idea. Maybe Barnett thinking about what happened before, not wanting to put himself into any dangerous positions so early.
Oh, that is the Chevy Godzilla currently going for an early pit stop. Most likely trying to find himself some clean air.
And we have someone that looks like an Aston Martin and also Samuel Kruger going wide in turn 1.
I think that was Crew.
Yeah, that would be Dave Crew.
Oh, and more contact?
Let me jump back to Daniel Barnet, who, he's going side by side with Doe. Went down inside into turn 1 and managed to finalize the move around the outside of turn 3. Now he has a gap. Just Samuel Kruger has Doe returns the favor, dives down the inside in the infield section. An aggressive move from Doe, but he makes it stick. And Barnett maybe caught nothing after that move, being happy that he made it. I'm ahead. And then a little bit of surprise and a little bit of oversteer. And I think maybe Barnett is starting to get a little bit nervous behind the steering wheel. After the collision, maybe trying hastily to get back where he was. And meanwhile, for the lead, as we will jump to the replay, we saw a fight between Alex Rogers and Jack Camoletto. And Rogers managed to get by on the Aston Martin, but we saw that they have both managed to come together and lose position to Aaron Royling, so maybe we will be able to see from the replay what has happened to both of them. I would expect maybe the same thing that happened between Barnet. And I think it was
that BMW definitely carrying some pace on the straight now.
Yeah, and it was a mistake from Camoletto just outbraking himself into the left hand and just tagging the BMW, and that was all that it took for them to lose the lead. And Aaron Royling just laughing all the way through the lap, gaining the lead of the race.
The question now being whether or not Rollings has the pace to actually keep Rogers and Camoletto off of him.
Well, he wasn't that far behind them after passing Schaefer, so I think it won't be that. He can have that little pace, but definitely this is a great position for him, and with the Mercedes being quite a potent car in the straight line, I think Rogers will have a tough ask this time to get by. But he was able to get into the lead once. I see no reason he should not be able to do it again. Daniel Barnett still leading the train that he inherited. After the dive bomb from Domo, he has lost even a little bit more time. So maybe a little bit of damage and also the lapse of concentration, and Barnett got out of the rhythm that he was in. And now just trying to hold on to the position with what is his brand made of, Adam Sharp, sorry. Meanwhile, he's Varley defending from Binerski in the Demon Twix BMW, and they get a little bit close for comfort. It would look that Binerski just ran a little bit wide into the McLaren of Varley, but kindly probably just waiting for fuel to collect himself, get back on the track, and not gaining the position from that. It is one of the driving standards you have to inherit and you have to keep adhering to. If you hit someone and they kind of spin around, you should not overtake them, or if they are spinning, just wait for them to regain the position back. A little bit of sportsmanship with the mistakes that sometimes happen between the drivers. But back to the lead, and Rogers has managed to close by back to Royling, and Camaleto has not been falling off of them, and Ulrich also just keeping close behind. Also, Camaleto getting close to the back of the BMW yet again through the same corner.
Rogers, Camaleto, and Ulrich having closed a gap to 2 seconds from 0.2 seconds from 0.7 seconds earlier, 0.9 seconds earlier. Sorry for that one. They're definitely having more pace currently, and I think it is because they're catching each other's slipstream at the moment. They are definitely coming for Royling, and probably a little bit of a psychological factor playing there as well, trying to hold on to that lead and trying not to make any mistakes, while you can clearly see that Rogers is looking for every opening there possibly is, trying to go around the outside. Can he make it stick? Side by sides. Royling having the inside corner currently. Still no contact. Camaleto trying to work off of it. Doesn't manage to. And Royling holds back down towards the front of the lead. Magnificent driving right there.
Yeah. Beautifully set by Rogers. You can see he has so much more grip on the outside of the first corner, but Royling just having the idle racing line, there was nothing Rogers could have done. But at least he tries the move, You never know, you might actually do it if you don't try, you ultimately fail to get by. And also it's a little bit of that psychology from Rogers that Royling now has to think about him, that he is behind him, he needs to maybe a little bit more. That pressure just keeps mounting, and this is one of the positions that will defy you as a driver. If you can handle yourself at the top and not giving the other one that opportunity, this is where your metal gets tested and where you get forged.
And it's about to get interesting as they approach the first back marker. There's going to be overtaking opportunities here. Camaleto laying in wait like a praying mantis, trying to find an opening past both Royling and Rogers if there's a mistake from both of them.
You can see directly from on board of Alex Rogers of what is currently going on. If you look at what he's doing, how he's driving the car in the slipstream of the Mercedes, look up how he's on
straight
to the left hand side, halfway down the straight. He tried around the outside once. Maybe he can do it this time. He's slightly bit more ahead, but still the outside line
Rogers is by.
flies by, as you said, and gets the move done. Now it's up to Camolet to get by Roiling, or maybe Roiling just sitting in a slipstream. Maybe just trying to stick with Rogers. You already can see Roiling defending a little bit from Camolet. Even if no doubt side of the where we saw a diving move into this corner before. Maybe different braking for each driver. You can sneak down the inside, but you have to be really careful when you just try to like put your nose somewhere. Because sometimes the driver might not be aware of your presence into the corner.
Going on to the straight here, Rolling is definitely going to try and catch that BMW. But it doesn't seem like the slipstream is going to be enough right here to catch him on the inside corner.
I could see from the rear view that Rogers, even though Roiling had a slipstream, Rogers was able to pull away from the Mercedes. That looks to me that it has to be probably just a lower rear wing. Just the slipperiness of the setup on Rogers' car. And you would maybe expect that on a track like this, that it being track with not as many fast corners that require the downforce, even though the turn 1 and the final section are quite fast. The straights are just a bit more prevalent on this track.
Looking at this, Rogers definitely is not running a whole lot of rear wing.
Yeah, meanwhile, further down the grid, I think we saw Daniel Barnet. No, we did not see him going into the pit lane, but he managed to pull away from Adam Sharp that was behind him, and also Jory Barrowclough managed to get by the Porsche driver, who had to defend there from Dave Crew, who just seemed to almost send one down the inside in the second corner.
Slightly missing his brake marker, most likely trying to catch that Porsche head.
There is a fight for positions deep in the driving grid. Dirk Gretschel defending himself from Nico Sky. Sky managing to get past into the second corner. And now Gretschel will be probably sitting his sides behind on Gianni Lenz in the Chevrolet. You can already see some drivers having the mandatory pit stops done, like Godzilla, Moll, and Alan. Little bit of mistake from Kevin Shepard running wide in the infield section, but managing to return to the track in correct manner and not endangering anyone on a circuit, something even the professional drivers have problems with, just hastily trying to get back to the speed. There is Mike Bull pressuring what to be David Crew. And a contact between both of them.
Oh, and that looks like Matt L hit the barrier at quite high speed. He's definitely going to have some problems with that one.
Yeah. That was a hefty impact for the Ginetta driver. The replay was maybe a little bit shorter.
Judging by the speed that was, it was most likely somewhere around the 180, 190 kilometers an hour. Probably lost about 50 when he hit the barrier.
Well, Damien Wilk making his mandatory stop. You know, the refueling is mandatory. Like he mentioned, take a little bit more fuel, as we see a stop and go penalty for RWB cost. And for what it seems to be, probably speeding in a pit lane.
Yep.
and because maybe pushing for some tenths that he was trying to chase, and out of few tenths he's going to lose about a minute, probably even more. Yeah, that's the risk you take when you try and gain a little bit on the braking into the pit lane. Meanwhile, in the lead, Rogers has managed to make a gap of 1.5 seconds over Royby. But still, Camoletto and Ulrich closely behind the Mercedes driver. I think Camoletto is looking for an avenue by.
Yes, that does seem to be the thing. I'm thinking Rowling here is trying to defend with all his might against Camoletto. Him not finding an opening around Rowling is causing that gap to start appearing.
Yeah, and you can see he just jumped up into 2.1 after the lap, so 6 tenths Rogers managed to find. And he will be hoping Rowling can stay in that position for as long as possible, but Camoletto is down the inside of the second corner, but not close enough. Mountain overtake, although Rowling has run a little bit wide. This gives the outside line for next corner. Camoletto, but overall he has managed to slot in front of the Aston Martin. But this is inherently slowing them all down, and Rogers is just sliding all the way up in the lead. Got climbed by another 4 tenths in just those few corners. I think if nobody is going to be able to catch up to Rogers within the next 10 minutes, he might just run away with the race.
That is a very real possibility right there. There is probably still some chances there if Rogers makes a mistake here or there, but as far as we've been able to see so far, he's a very consistent driver with a very high pace, so it'd have to be down to some circumstances he can't control, maybe a back marker that takes a little bit too long to go on the sides.
Meanwhile, looking from the onboard of Martin Schaefer, who's been in P3 at the start, he has been passed by all of the cars that are in front of him, but he has managed to keep it quite clean for now, and I think he is slowly starting to gain on the pack that is in front of him. Maybe there will be something for the Ginetta driver gain in next few laps. Now Camoletto, you can see wild exit out of that corner, trying to get on the power as soon as possible. Also to the left hand side, on the Mercedes, you'll have the outside line into turn 1, probably not enough. Not even that. There was also just enough speed in the Aston Martin to get by on the straight. But who is getting by is definitely Martin Ulrich down the inside in the second corner. The move not finalized yet, as he will now have the outside for the next left-hander. They will try to hold it around. That forces Ulrich a little bit wide, and Camoletto is able to keep the position for the time being.
Ulrich definitely having bought Rowling a little bit of headroom there. That'll be very good for him to just find a little bit of pace, not having to defend for probably what is about a lap or two worth of time in between the two of them now.
This will be also important for Ulrich if he can't find the way around Camoletto without losing too much time. It might be vital to just stick behind for now and let the Aston Martin to close up onto Rowling yet again. Because out of that, Schaefer has managed to close them down by quite a lot. And also Binelli and Wiley are not far away from these fights. These guys. So if someone behind is running more fuel, there will be possibility to get by in the pit lane.
Meanwhile, Rogers having fully capitalized off that entire fight at the front, having 3.5 seconds roughly of head gap.
Looking off of the rear wing of Adam Sharp. We saw him in the fights a little bit, and also the Aston Martin of Prue behind him. You can see with a little bit of damage on the front end. But looks like Crew has more speed than Sharp currently. Final corner. In the slipstream of the Porsche, but Sharp a little bit far behind to mount any kind of attack. Oh, pardon me, they've Crew behind. With Isaac in the Ginetta humping a little bit over the curves. We are looking on Gianni Lenz, who was in a fight with Gretschel behind him. You know, RWB Godzilla, who is after his pit stop. We were looking to just make a swift move on Gianni Lenz, both driving for the Chevrolet. Also the two Alpines closely with each other, with Gretschel being in front. But his closest fight for the actual position is RW flag, as the Alpine that is running around the outside of him is out of position. Just to let him by. Meanwhile, Godzilla has not found a way yet around Gianni Lenz. Probably will be able to just slide down the inside of the next corner. Lenz not making it too easy on his brand mate, but he doesn't have to, as it still fight for a position, even though it's a little bit out of the pit stop sequence.
Sharp is definitely taking some decent corners right there, keeping the gap between him and Crew as big as he possibly can. Crew's trying to start with a bit of late braking, trying to get right behind there. Meanwhile, we've switched over to Martin Schaefer, who's trying to hold off Binnersley.
Yeah.
Ginetta definitely holding all of his grip throughout that hairpin corner right there. Binnersley trying to use his car, which is the BMW, using the straight line speed that the car has over Ginetta to try and close that gap.
And as I said, Camelot has managed to get by to Royling yet again. But
I'm getting a bit of a deja vu there, seeing as Ulrich is yet again trying to capitalize off Camaletto, trying to find that opening.
Yeah, looks like Royling is just not fast enough to keep up with Rogers. The gap 4.2 seconds, but he's fast enough to not give Camaletto any good chance. And this is something that can make you a little bit antsy when you are behind the car. But you are faster, but just not in the correct position, just so that you can get by. Meanwhile, someone who is trying to get by, Binnersley, goes down the inside of Martin Schaefer. I've been noticing that there is not a fight that he has anything to say in anymore. Just staying behind the BMW driver, and you'll probably have to be looking at Phil Varley, maybe closing a little bit down in the next laps.
Seeing as the Ginetta does have a limiter on its top speed, it definitely struggles on that straight, but the beautiful thing about the Ginetta is that it weighs so little, so it can definitely accelerate quicker out of the corners. But of course, on the long straights of Snetterton, it gets caught out eventually.
As we see Cameletta now trying to capitalize on the lap traffic, Royling having to deal with the Porsche that was a lap down, and that gave a little bit of opportunity to Cameletta, who is the outside line for the next corner. It will be really hard to hang it around, but if you hook it up, you can do it, but no space given to Cameletta by Royling. And now Ulrich has the run for the next corner, but choosing not to dive down inside, as it wasn't a definitive opportunity for him. And just all of this fighting is allowing Rogers in the BMW to just ease by and create the gap.
It definitely is easy to have the backseat opinion here, seeing this all happen from out the helicam. In my opinion, these three should definitely no longer be racing one another and start trying to catch Alex Rogers, seeing as they're struggling to get by each other anyway right now.
But I mean, if you are rolling, you are not going to catch. Doesn't look like he has the pace to catch Rogers.
This is indeed very true as well. But the defending is obviously also taking a little bit of his space away, seeing as he's very often having to hold that inside line and then having a worse exit, which then in turn, of course, helps Ulrich try to get by Camaletto because he has the exact same situation. Camaletto definitely having that pace to catch Rogers.
But I think Royling is currently doing all that he has to. He doesn't have the pace to catch the leader, so at least make the life hard for the guys behind you who are fighting right now. And if what he is doing is enough to keep him in the second place, well, that's really good for him.
Oh yes, absolutely agreed. Another thing that both Ulrich or Camaletto could be thinking about, if this fits within their current strategy, is to do the early pit, and that way try to get a bit of clean air and catch Rogers that way.
But slight mistake from rolling in turn one, running wide, catching grass, and this allows Camaletto to finally get by. I'm talking, he's doing all he needs to. He does the only thing he does not need at this point. And now Camaletto has about 5 second gap to the car in front of him. Let's see if he has space in the Aston Martin to go and catch Rogers. He has 40 minutes to do so, so plenty of time. And now running. Let's see if he can keep the Mercedes behind. But if there will be a little bit more fight in Ulrich. Something that has happened during the fights that we have been looking on, that if Binersley has managed to get by. Oh no, something we have not missed. But I was still behind on situations on track. But status quo kept behind Adam Sharp and Dave Crew. Aston Martin still behind the bright yellow Porsche. Try to sneak down inside and settle Sharp into the next set of corners. Watch out, knowing that Aston Martin is way too far to mount any kind of move. Sticks to the racing line. Just quite time for the next set of corners.
Now, as interesting as the current battles are and the racing so far, Racer, I will be bidding you goodbye as I take my leave for the evening.
Well,
however, I still have my money for the end run on Camaletto.
Alright, hello.
Good evening, and I bid everyone goodbye.
Goodbye, and thank you for helping me for this while. We continue the fight. Martin Ulrich was already looking on the Roiling in front of him, trying to find the avenue by. Already a small opportunity. But Mercedes is still keeping just 3 and 4. So looking from the inside of Phil Warley, what he sees right now. Chasing the Ginetta of Martin Schaefer. And the BMW of Rick Binersley for the spot in P5. And meanwhile, Doe has managed to find himself in a fight with Samuel Kruger. Kruger, after an early mistake in the race, currently behind the BMW driver. Tucked down underneath the rear wing into this giantly long ride hand at the back of the circuit. And Kruger will be slowly analyzing the driving of the door and seeing where he can get by. Let's go inside with Samuel Kruger and see this lap from his point of view. What a beautiful sound that was of the naturally aspirated V10 from the Audi. One of the few remaining naturally aspirated engines on the grid. Something that is sadly less and less common in modern day of racing, with real life regulations that are being put onto more and more, say, ecological and nature friendly engines. But as we all racing fans hope that these engines will someday make a return. These beautiful V10s, the screaming V12s, and slightly more cultivated but still to some degree powerful, the V8s. I'm just hoping that we won't one day be all dragging around on the racetracks with just tiny whistling going on and screaming with the tires. But that's a debate for one day. Currently, Jan Royling was under attack from Ulrich in the first complex of the track, but still managing to stay in front. On track, Camoletto managed to get the gap at the lead down by a little bit. There is no significant gain. We shall see how that fight develops between Camoletto and Rogers. Meanwhile, Royling has started to create a little bit of train as Ulrich dives into the pit lane. Strategical battle starts now. How much fuel did Ulrich have and how much fuel is he going to take? Shall see by the length of this stop if it was just a splash and dash, and it looks like, yeah, it was the tiniest amount of fuel that he can. No tires for Martin Ulrich, and let's see where he comes out. If he's in clean air, this might be really good for him. You know, for the fight, for the first place. And it looks like just as he comes out, there are two cars in front of him. Which looks to be, yeah, the Chevrolet. No, it's not the Chevrolet of Samuel Kruger. It would be the Audi. Yeah, but looks like he will have some lap traffic in front of him. It should not be that much of a problem, but still it will be a time loss. And how important will be also the response of Jan Royling if he stays out, or if he dives into the pit lane trying to cover the Mercedes that was in front of him. But you can see that Binersley has already managed to close a little bit down onto Royling. So I think Royling, we should expect him anytime soon in the pit lane. He's trying to cover the car behind that has stopped. Meanwhile, Jack Camoletto has closed the gap down severely by half a second. So it's currently under 4 seconds in the fight for the lead. Maybe Camoletto has a lot more pace in the Aston Martin, even though it is quite heavy on its tires, for the next part of the race. Let's see if there will be any response. And nothing, so Royling deciding to keep it out on the racetrack and continue driving on maybe a bit less fuel than Martin Ulrich. We also see Doe coming into the pit lane together with Barrowclough. Both BMWs diving into the pit boxes for a service from their crew. It looks like lots of drivers deciding to split their driving into 2 halves for this race. And we see a small pack that has currently formed, it being RWB Charger in the Aston Martin with Audi and Godzilla behind him. Audi getting the run onto the start-finish straight, pulling out to the left side, has the outside for the corner. But he might be able to hang it around, but there is no overlap between the cars. And this keeps opening to Godzilla. Although he runs a little bit wide, after turn 1, getting a bit excited. So the fight between Charger and Audi resumes for the next few corners. They're looking on Adam Sharp, that is currently in front of Martin Ulrich, so it wasn't lap traffic, as it was suggested, but it's Adam Sharp who is for the position technically, although in the race Sharp is behind Martin Ulrich, but this will be an important part for him if he can find the way to get by, as we all see one of the BMWs look to be someone from the RWB. First, it might be RWB Rigel. Oh, my bad. But the BMW in front, finding the grass on the outside of the corner. And Jeroen Rolling still being hustled by Nestle behind him. And Rolling was starting to create the train, out of which Ulrich decided to dive out. You can see the field being currently heavily mixed with the pit stops and everything happening. We can see Ian Simcox holding up Damien Wilk. You can see it's cars that are out of the pit window. Simcox still yet to go into the pit lane, but Wilk and Allen behind him, both after their mandatory pit stop. The pit window still for another 24 minutes, so plenty of time for Simcox to take his stop, which he decides to do now. That gives clean air to Damien Wilk, which he will definitely need. As the Porsche of Joshua Allen behind him is really close and closing on to him with every corner. Maybe getting a little bit better run out of the first corner and trying to poke his nose around the outside. But braking maybe even a bit too much for the corner. That invites Isaac to have a look on the Porsche. Looks like Allen maybe locked the rear tires, which just swerved the car a little bit, and then lost him some time on Damien Wilk in front of him. Isaac is now in a really good position to maybe get alongside and get by the Porsche driver. It's still Adam Sharp holding up Martin Ulrich. And Ulrich will not be happy about this, as this is losing him precious time and maybe even a position to Rick Binersley, that is currently in P3, or no, P4. So maybe something Ehrlich tried to do tactically, but now stuck behind the car that is definitely slower than him. Maybe even slower than Royling. Might be quite a tactical mishap from the Mercedes driver. As you could see, he got really close to Sharp in the braking zone, trying to find any way to get around the Porsche. Putting him in that corner as well, deep on the brakes, and this is not helping him, even though you try to maybe scare the driver in front into a mistake, but in the end you're just costing yourself time that you would gain by going normally around the corners. Something you can notice when you're driving around, maybe trying that little bit too hard to gain that 10th, and all of a sudden you lose 5 tenths, even though you could have maybe gained only half. But fight resuming here between Samuel Kruger and Dave Crew. Kruger, who was chasing, I think it was BMW of Real before, or maybe no, it was Daw, who has gone into the pit lane. Now also we see Phil Varley and Adam Sharp going to the pit lane. So this now allows lets Ehrlich free into the clean air. Now is the time for him to put the foot down and drive really fast, trying to catch up to the cars in front and catch the time he lost. Here is view from Dave Krug, looking on the back of the Audi of Samuel Kruger. Currently in the top 10, studying the lines of his opponent and thinking, where am I faster, where am I slower, where can I get by the car in front? Something all drivers need to think about, analyzing, and not over-analyzing, but just looking at what is happening. Where am I getting closer, where is the car in front of me getting a bit further? Just looking, yeah, I am faster through this corner, I am better in this braking zone. And sometimes you just find out you are faster in the zone where there is no chance for overtake, or you are slow just out of the crucial parts of the lap. And then if this happens, there is the tactical part of, when I come in then, what do I do if I can't get past on the racetrack? And here is the tactical bit that I was talking about very vigorously. Pardon me. He was behind Martin Ulrich before he came into the pit lane. So now it will be interesting to see where is Ulrich going to be. We can see him already on the pit straight. Let's see. Yeah, we can see Ulrich has managed to get by Rick Binnersley by quite a margin. I would say that's a really big gap to Binnersley. And that's a surprise to me, because Ulrich was stuck behind Sharp for quite a few laps. So maybe the pace of Sharp was not as bad as it seemed to be. And maybe Röhling is the one that is struggling to go fast. And it has hurt Binnersley even more than I expected. Also, meanwhile, the gap in the lead is now down to 2.9 seconds, so Camoletto really getting on with it and setting some fast laps, or maybe Rogers just holding back and trying to keep his tires in good shape. That will also be important if Camoletto destroys his tires trying to chase Rogers. He will not have anything to even maybe get close to him in the end. With 20 minutes to go. At this point, if you have been too hard on the tires, you might be actually looking at quite a big drop in your performance. So let's see, here is Martin Ulrich. Just look where is Binnersley, halfway down this straight. Meanwhile, Ulrich has... that was a bit close for Sjöblom there with the lapped Alpine. I mean, Ulrich is what looks to be about 4 seconds ahead of Binnersley. But without the tire change, still the same tires on both cars as before the pits. Let's see, maybe Binnersley will have a little bit of speed in the BMW to try and get back to the Mercedes driver. Jumping to RWB flag. Currently lone P17. The Ginetta in front of him should be Martin Schaefer. Closest fight for flag is RWB Audi. You can see there is quite a big gap between both of them. And someone we have not seen too much of, Javier Evgeny, this race. Currently has Jody Barrowclough and Nate Newcomer behind him. We have a Chevrolet drivers. Out of this corner, Nate Barrowclough looks like he had a better run out of the final corner. As he goes down the inside of Javier Evgeny. And this should be easy move for Barokov, you can see already. Even on the brakes, and Nate newcomer just shooting down the inside of Erugeni. Something he did not probably expect and taking big advantage of the move by Baroklov. And that was really opportunistic from Nate newcomer. But hey, luck probably comes to those who come and get it. And newcomer just had the trust in the car and probably also Evgeny that he would not turn in and give him the space. And CI in racing, you have to be, how I say, you have to be healthily rude to others. Nobody's gonna give you anything if it is even if it belongs to you, if it is yours. You have to go and take it, and it looks like newcomer has set himself to take in a little bit more. He took one position, and probably he wants to take this one as well from Baroklov. It was really close through the infield section, but now losing a little bit on the straight. Let's keep looking from the newcomer. Oh, climbing over the sausage curbs. GT4's, they can take a little bit more punishment than GT3's, but still probably not can jump over the curbs like stadium tracks. And a newcomer still close. And Baroklov not losing too much. The BMW driver in front, maybe looking to put himself a bit deeper into the team's positions. Well, we see a fight between RWB Flak and Mad Al. So the Ginetta did I, so there was Flak. Mad Al has managed to get by his countryman grandmate. Flak being one of the cars that is yet to come into the pit lane together with RWB Audi. And here is important part, Jeroen Royling in the pit lane. So it will be interesting where he comes out compared to Martin Ulrich. Royling was in front of him before the pit cycle. So let's see. Royling is at the back of the pit lane, so it might be beneficial for him when he starts driving. But no, look at Martin Ulrich. Gap of what looks to be maybe 2 to 3 seconds over Jeroen Royling. So the strategical battle managed to help Martin Ulrich and put him in front of the Mercedes driver. He was not able to get by. Also Samuel Kruger, who is currently in the pit lane, currently coming out just on the outside of top 10 with a little bit of traffic that he will have to take care of. So in P11 with RWB Rigel being the closest car to him. Looks like the gap at the front has somewhat stabilized a little bit around 3.8 seconds from Alex Rogers to Jack Camoletto. And maybe the tire that I was speaking about is starting to kick in for the Aston Martin driver. Aston being one of the cars that will chew its tires a little bit more together with McLaren. We maybe can get away with 50 minutes of driving, but with 80 minutes it's a tough task. Until the top 3 being Rogers, Camoletto and Schaefer still have to come into the pit lane. Martin Schaefer being a little bit more out of position than the 2 cars in front of him. And also Emil Sierblom, currently in P7, still yet to pit. We shall be seeing where he comes out. Currently Phil Varley. He should be somewhere around Martin Schaefer when he comes in for his service. Also with Marko Badowski closely behind him. I think Schaefer You would be worried about being jumped by both of these cars, as we saw some people being able to get by with early pit stop. Jacob maybe will have his hands full coming towards the back end of the race. A little battle pack that has been put together by Andre Moll, having Damien Wilk behind him and Isaac just on looking from the distance. As the Burger King Porsche will have to be really wide for the next few laps, defending from Damien Wilk, who had managed to hit that curb. We saw quite a few drivers jumping over there. It's one of the maybe the least liked corners for some, maybe like because how hard they are. But the entire back end of the circuit here at Snetterton, it's really awkward when it comes to driving. And also props to Andre Moll for the Burger King livery. Really well and simply done, I have to say. But if he can defend the way he creates, this should probably not be too hard a task for him. As we are in the final 15 minutes of this race, it has gone by in a flash. And also final 10 minutes of the pit window. And maybe the top three are looking to just stretching the first stint as much as they can. And going in at the last possible opportunities. Still less than 9 minutes remaining in this pit window. It is the fight between Marco Badowski and Phil Varley, with a little bit of large traffic in between them. Badowski may be looking to gain an advantage from Varley to get around lower cars. We see BMW just in front of them, which would be Emil Sieblom, still someone who has to go into the pit lane, but Badowski looking onto the outside of Phil Varley, maybe trying to do a switchback on the exit of the corner, but not able to get the traction down. Varley is still keeping his P8 for the time being. But yeah, Badowski looks like he has space to get by the McLaren driver. Maybe also the tires starting to go off a little bit for Phil Varley. It is the important part. Jack Camata going to the pit lane. It would be interesting to see where he comes out. He had about 3-second gap to Alex Rogers. Let's see if he can get some clean air. Looks like from the minimap that there will be enough for him to just keep driving and be posting fast laps. And engages the pit limiter. And yeah, look at that, plenty of space for Jack Camletto. Let's see how it is for Alex Rogers. Yeah, looks relatively clean also for Rogers for next few laps. With the lap times being around 2 minutes, I don't think there will be much trouble for Rogers. So now it is only on pure pace between these two drivers. Turning back to the fight between Phil Varley and Marco Badowski. Badowski slightly better out of the first corner. Maybe even trying to go around the outside, but he caught a little bit of grass, which almost sent his speed around. And also Phil Varley looks like he did not hit his braking point correctly. So no big time loss for Badowski, but you can see how much he's pushing that Mercedes to the limit and getting closer as Varley is choosing the defensive line to some corners, compromising his run through the corner, but just ultimately losing him a little bit of time on the car behind. To the back straight we go yet again. Barowski not having enough straight line speed to mount an attack on Phil Varley, so he will be looking for those mistakes happening in the correct places. As Varley was a little bit tight on the apex, but at the same time Barowski was a little bit wide on the apex, so both drivers just those tiny mistakes at the same time. It does not allow Barowski to compromise, to commit to any move yet. We are at the back of the grid, P31 and 32. Shepard and FX UK fighting off. FX is going around the outside, or then we fight between these two. Outside of the turn one, not a good hunting ground for FX, maybe trying a different line for the turn two. But Shepard keeping this 32nd position. And FX will have to slot behind and try another time. You can also see Dave Prue in the pit lane, and that looks like a retirement to me, as he was in the pits for quite some time. And unfortunate for Dave Prue, as we see only 40 cars now circulating around, so last one being currently Justin Burley, and yeah, quite a lot of cars that have retired probably due to some collisions. And Kevin Shepard looks to have made a slight mistake. Yeah, as I look correctly, FX UK has managed to get by Shepard, so probably outbraking himself. Martin Schaefer goes into the pit lane and coming out. Let's see where he goes out. Royling gets by, or Ulrich gets by, and looks like Royling has managed to get by as well. So yeah, Martin Schaefer has managed to gain a position on Rick Nersley during the pit cycle, putting himself into P5. And yeah, there have been some movements during the pit stop phases. I think Alex Rogers, he will be diving into the pit lane this lap, as the pit window is going to be really close for him. The Alpine goes really wide. Rogers having clean run through the next corners, and with lap times being around 1 minute 58 mark, yeah, this is definitely going to be a pit stop for Alex Rogers. He moves out of the track, and this is going to be important. Let's go on board with Jack Camaletto. What he sees, a little bit of traffic in front of him that he has caught. Eventually, see if he can get by BMW during the pit stops. This is fight for the lead. Rogers already moving out of his pit box, and Jack Camaletto just only getting onto the pit straight. And yeah, this should be enough for Alex Rogers, who with a quite big gap is still ahead of Jack Camaletto, so good driving from both of them. neither of them being able to do something, or like Camilletto not being able to do something about the gap, and Alex Rogers just keeping it clinical, keeping the lap time coming. And this might be what gives him the win in the first race of RWB GT4 British Championship. So Emil Sjöblom barely managing to get in, just 40 seconds, still enough. So still quite a big reserve of time. But now the gap being up to 6 seconds, so Rogers managing to even pull a little bit more on Camilletto, and I think with 5 minutes to go, this will have to be either big drive for Camilletto or just a giant mistake from Rogers for something to change. Martin Ulrich being there and thereabout, maybe a chance for him if he has enough speed, and the traffic would be quite good for him to challenge for P2, but it would be really close between them. It would probably have to be a fight on the final lap. Göran Roybing just keeping the 4th place in front of Martin Schaefer, and I think Schaefer would be looking at the P4 and thinking, I can get there. Martin, he has been strong in the second part of the races in Constructors' Championship, and he always managed to get high in the pit cycle, so maybe it's just 1.6 seconds to the car in front. And this is not an impossible task for the Ginetta driver. Rick Winnersley is also not far behind, but the closest fight we currently have is here. Phil Varley and Marco Badowski. These have been going on for past what looks to be like 15 minutes. And a little bit of compromised line from Phil Varley. This gives the chance to Marco Badowski. He will have a better run. Looks like he fluffed the exit a little bit, and the McLaren is able to just pull away on the straight. Just look at Phil Varley, even though Badowski is in the slipstream as he tries to go around the outside into turn 1. Opportunity there for Badowski, but not enough grip and space. Varley has kept the inside line, just helped him around the corner. Badowski looking even maybe for a switch back out of the second corner, but with no avail. He has to keep looking onto the back of the McLaren that he has been following for the past minutes. And the battle of these two for P7 resumes. I've been talking Martin Schaefer has closed down the gap. It's under 1 second right now. So the order in top 5 still not yet final. As it's still not the top 10. So let's jump on board with Marco Badowski and see what the German driver in the Mercedes is doing and how he sees the race. Although from that on board looks like we have something brewing that is even more spicy here. Gerard Royling may be pushing his tires a little bit too much, as Martin Schaefer is really close on the bumper of the Mercedes. The Ginetta on the straight line, it will not have the legs probably on the Mercedes. But maybe for the corners there is something Martin Schaefer can do. It's like we will get about 2 laps, so this one and the next one for Schaefer, to try and get by Royling for P4. And with the Aston Martin in front of them, maybe an opportunity for the British man to find a surprise move. You can see Royling struggling on those tires, missing the apex here and there, and the car just washing away driving a little bit wide, pushing the tires maybe a bit too much into what they don't want to do. But yeah, just on the straight line, I don't think there will be much the Ginetta can do, although Schaefer getting really close on the exit of the corner. Royling already trying to shut the door on Schaefer, and yeah, you can see Mercedes getting away bit by bit. But I think Royling is under big pressure right now from Schaefer. Even though he can get by, Royling has to be thinking about the Ginetta behind him. Let's see through the next corners, maybe a chance for Martin Schaefer to just unsettle the car in front of him. Maybe just a surprise. Oh, they're getting a little bit close, and there is a touch between them, and Royling is spinning around. And this is a big, really unfortunate for them, and this is a golden opportunity for Rick Binersley, who gets by both of them. And unfortunate mistake from Martin Schaefer, having maybe a little bit more grip and not expecting braking from the Mercedes in front of him, and this will also maybe the one for Stewart's, even though the position was given back. And error I can't afford at this level. Am I seeing correctly that Martin Ulrich has closed down Jack Camoletto, but I don't think there is enough time in the race, as this is the final lap. Yeah, Alex Rogers on the back straight. And I think Jack Camoletto will have just about enough of a gap to hold off Martin Ulrich for the second place. But what a drive it was from Alex Rogers as he goes into the final complex on the corners. Fighting for the lead at the beginning of the race, spinning around after being hit by Camoletto, and then regaining the lead back and never looking at anyone again. Just driving away into the sunset, keeping the gap stable as he goes through the final corner. And Alex Rogers wins the first race of the RWB GT4 British Championship, flashing his lights across the line. Jack Camoletto comes home in second place, and Martin Ulrich rounding out the podium. Rick Binersley, after looking for what was P6, the collision between Royling and Schaefer on P4, the aforementioned Royling and Schaefer positions 5 and 6. And Phil Warley managing to hold off the Mercedes of Badowski for P7, and also Rigel, who has managed to close them both by in P9, and Samuel Kruger to round out our top 10 for this race. Oh boy, what a race it was. Let me see if I can maybe grab our race winner for a small chat. Our race winner Alex Rogers. Alex, can you hear me? Well, doesn't seem like connection was established at that point, but someone I would like to talk to. Martin, I know you can hear me. Martin, you there? Martin? Well, driver's not being really talkative today, but I think I'm gonna let them calm down now this race, after what has happened. And we're going to round it out for the day. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please make sure you join us at RWB Club. We are doing many more races as endurance races in GT4's. And also the mentioned GT4 Constructors Championship going into its second half of the second season. Championship for both highly skilled and the new drivers who are eager to learn. Or just jump into our events organized on simracing.gp. And from me, it was all. I was Racer Soul. And this was RWB International. Goodbye.